Hey, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to talk about what it's like to be an agnostic. Now, you might not be entirely familiar with what this term means, so I'd like to explain it in a way that's easy to understand. What does it mean to be agnostic? Agnosticism is a position on knowledge, particularly regarding religion. Essentially, the world is often divided into two broad categories when it comes to belief in the supernatural. Theists, people who believe in a deity or higher power. Atheists, people who do not believe in any god or higher power, often requiring concrete evidence before accepting something as truth. Then, there is a third group, agnostics, who simply admit, we don't know. That's the most straightforward way to put it. Some comedians have poked fun at agnostics, saying we're just indecisive, that we need to pick a side. But for me, it's not about indecision. It's about intellectual honesty. I don't feel comfortable making a definitive statement about something I can't prove either way. My personal journey to agnosticism, I was raised Catholic, very Catholic, as part of a Polish family. However, I grew up in Sweden, which is a largely secular society. That meant I was constantly exposed to both religious and non-religious perspectives, and I found myself swinging back and forth between belief and doubt. There were times I was certain God existed, and other times I was sure he didn't. But around the age of 20, I came across the concept of agnosticism, and it felt like home. It made sense to me, finally, a position that allowed me to say, I just don't know. That's where I landed, and that's where I've stayed. Why agnosticism makes sense to me. For some people, the idea of not choosing a side is uncomfortable. They feel the need to either believe or not believe. But here's my issue. If I say I believe in God, I'll have doubts. If I say I don't believe, I'll also have doubts. Agnosticism allows me to embrace uncertainty. I don't have to force myself into a category where I don't truly belong. I'm comfortable admitting I don't know, and I'm okay with that. Uncertainty for the rest of my life. Agnosticism as a religion, sort of. Now, agnosticism isn't really a religion. There are no churches, no weekly gatherings, no sacred texts. But in a way, it's still a shared perspective, a community of people who acknowledge the limits of human knowledge. That said, agnostics are generally tolerant of both believers and non-believers. If believing in God brings you joy, I'm happy for you. If not believing makes you feel liberated, great. I don't feel the need to convince anyone of anything, because at the end of the day, nobody truly knows the answer. Observations on believers and atheists. I've met deeply religious people who find immense peace and beauty in their faith. They see life as poetic, meaningful, and they cherish the idea of reuniting with loved ones in an afterlife. That's a beautiful belief, and I genuinely hope it turns out to be true. However, I've also seen religious individuals struggle, feeling guilt, fear, or even oppression due to their beliefs. If a particular faith is making someone miserable, then maybe it's worth questioning whether it's really serving them well. On the other hand, I've met atheists who find joy and meaning in life without any belief in a higher power. But I've also seen some fall into nihilism, feeling like life is cold and meaningless. It really depends on the person and how they interpret their worldview. A perspective I admire. The Japanese approach in Japan, religion is often viewed as a tool for life, a philosophy rather than an absolute truth. People may practice different religious customs, not because they are devoted believers, but because these traditions bring them comfort and meaning. I find that approach fascinating. I think the ultimate purpose of belief, or non-belief, should be to help people live fulfilling lives. Whatever worldview brings you happiness and meaning, that's the one you should embrace. The problem with religious and atheist extremism, one thing I dislike is when people, both religious and atheist, try to force their beliefs on others. Some believers insist that their faith is the only correct one, while some atheists go out of their way to mock religious people as delusional. The truth is, nobody truly knows. Science can explain a lot, but even scientific theories evolve and change over time. If you've ever watched a video by Vsauce, you'll know what I mean. I recently saw one where Michael discussed whether chairs even exist. He spent 30 minutes explaining, from a philosophical and scientific standpoint, why the concept of a chair is just a social construct. By the end of the video, it almost made sense. This just goes to show that even things we take for granted as real are open to interpretation. If something as simple as a chair can be debated, imagine how complex the question of God is. Final thoughts. Embracing the unknown. At the end of the day, my personal belief system boils down to this. I don't know. I wish I did. I wish I could say with certainty that God exists or doesn't exist. But I can't. And I'm okay with that. If I reach the end of my life still unsure, I'll be at peace with that uncertainty. So that's what it's like to be an agnostic. I hope this gave you some insight into my perspective. Let me know in the comments what you believe, if you'd like to share. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.